Hi Pankhurst class, this is your Thursday English lesson. Thank you to everyone who joined our live session this morning. It was fantastic to see so many of you, and a couple of you said that you found understanding what a recount was tricky. So I'm just going to recap what a recount is quickly, go through some features, and then we'll start on today's lesson. So a recount was just looking at the diary entry. So this is the book that we're focusing on at the moment. And within this book, there are lots of different diary extracts in here. And a diary is written in the past tense. So that's one of our features of a recount. So a recount is when we look back at something that's already happened. And we've written a diary entries. We had that red book in school and we practiced writing our diary entries in there. And that's what a recount is. It's just recapping something that's already happened, whether it's something that happened yesterday, something that happened this morning, something that happened years ago. It doesn't matter. A recount is just retelling a piece of information. So it's always written in the past tense. You have adverbials of time and time connectives, which I'll come on to in a moment. It's written in chronological order. Pause the video, talk to the adult in your room or your teddy or someone around you, and can you tell them what chronological order means? The little clue is when we did our non-chronological reports, it didn't matter which order the paragraphs went in. Pause the video now and have a think. Okay, so chronological order means it's written in time order. So it does matter which order it is. Otherwise, you'll get very confused if you were to read a diary entry and things were happening all the way over the place. So it has to be written in a certain order. It would be using emotive words or language. That's how people are feeling. It's written in the first person if it's a diary entry, because you'll be writing, I did this, then I did this. You would have the day or the date in it. It might be informal or chatty, so colloquial language. If you're writing to a diary, it'll be quite chatty language, which you'll notice when we're reading this book. In the class text, you'll notice it's quite chatty the way that it's written. You'll have contractions to make your sentences longer, varied sentence structures, closing statements to reflect on what's happened, and the use of pronouns to avoid repetition. And we're going to have a look at pronouns in today's lesson. Just have a think about what you think pronouns are and what does repetition mean. We're going to come on to that in a moment. So just quickly looking at the adverbials of time and time connectives, which was our second point here. That was yesterday's lesson. So in yesterday's lesson, you looked at these different ones. And as someone said in our live this morning, they can be put in the beginning of a sentence, in the middle of a sentence, or at the end of a sentence. It doesn't matter. You can have them in different places. And they're telling you when something happened or how long you'll be doing it for or how often it'll be happening. And these are some examples of some of those. So when you're writing a recount, you would use these to help you. Now, I hope that's cleared up any issues that you had. If you're still unsure, if you just let me know on Teams or on the email, then I'll try and sort it out for you. But hopefully that helps you understand what a recount is. Okay, so we're now going to have a look at our last point in our list of what a recount is, which was the use of pronouns. So first of all, my first question to you, what is a noun? Pause the video and talk to the person next to you, talk to an adult, talk to your teddy bear. What is a noun? Okay, so a noun is a person, place, or thing. So your pencil is a noun. You are a noun. You're a person. Your house or your flat is a noun. The chair you're sitting on is a noun. They are a person, place, or thing. They are all nouns. I wonder if anyone can remember what they're called when they have to start with a capital letter. For example, the name of our school or your name. Wonder if you can remember what they are called as something noun. Pause the video and have a think of what they could be called. Okay, if you said proper noun, then well done. That's fantastic. So a proper noun is the name of something. So if you went to America, America has to have a capital letter. It is the name of the country. So they are what a noun is. Now we're looking at pronouns, and our learning objective says, can I use pronouns to avoid repetition? Repetition is when you repeat something. And I'm going to go through some examples in a minute of where if you don't use a pronoun, you can have a lot of repeating in a sentence. So we use pronouns to help stop that. So have a think of now what you think a pronoun is. So it's not the same as what a noun is, it's a pronoun. Pause the video, and I'd like you to write down on a scrap piece of paper on your whiteboard what an example of a pronoun could be. Have a think. Okay, hopefully you've written down a couple of ideas of what you think a pronoun could be. So a pronoun is a word used to replace a noun. So it's not the same thing as a noun, it's used to replace it. And I'll go through an example for you. So these are some examples that you may have written on your whiteboard. If you haven't, don't worry at all. So examples of pronouns are he, she, it, and they. And we use pronouns so that we don't need to keep repeating the same nouns. For example, rather than repeat the noun the car in this sentence, we use a pronoun. We took the car to the garage because the car needed fixing. So in the green box, the car is used twice, and car and garage are our nouns in that sentence. Now in this sentence in the green, it says we took the car to the garage because the car needed fixing. You've got repetition, it's repeated twice. Now in the blue, we've used a pronoun. We took the car to the garage because it needed fixing. Instead of having to say the car twice, we use the word it to help us. We took the car to the garage because it needed fixing. And that was one of our pronouns listed up here. So these are our pronouns. You might want to write down those 4 pronouns now to help us with our next couple of sentences. So we use personal pronouns to refer to a particular person or thing. There are 12 personal pronouns that we use for people. I, you, he, she, it, we, they, me, him, her, us, and them. And then there are 3 personal pronouns for things, they, them, and it. Now, we have to be careful with which pronouns we're using because it depends on if they're a boy, if they're a girl, those sorts of things will help us to choose which pronoun we want to use. So you have to think carefully what ones fit best. So let's have a look at a sentence and we're going to try and use a pronoun. So this sentence says, Tom went upstairs to the bedroom. Tom opened the door and Tom sat on the bed. I've got a few nouns in that sentence. I've got Tom is a noun, bedroom is a noun, door is a noun, and bed is a noun. There's one noun there that's repeated. Tom, Tom, Tom. Proper noun because we've got a capital letter and it's a name of a person. So it says, Tom went upstairs to the bedroom, Tom opened the door, and Tom sat on the bed. It's repeated 3 times. I wonder if you could please have a think of what pronoun you could use to replace Tom at least twice in that sentence. So I'd like you to have a think of what pronoun you could use. I'd like you to write down those 2 sentences on your piece of paper. And I'd like you to replace Tom and Tom with a pronoun. Pause the video and give that a go, please. Okay, hopefully you've managed to do that. So I'm going to move it down and we're going to show you an example of one. Tom went upstairs to the bedroom. So that sentence still stays with Tom because we have to have the first Tom, and I do not know who we're talking about. He opened the door and he sat on the bed. Excuse me. So well done if you wrote that on your piece of paper. So our pronoun here was he, and we used he opened the door and he sat on the bed. We didn't need to have Tom there and there because we knew who we were talking about because we had the first Tom here. Okay, let's try another one. Let's do this one together. Suprit wrote in Suprit's book. When Suprit was finished, Suprit put Suprit's book away. What a lot of repetition of Suprit's name. So we've got it 5 times in 2 sentences. Suprit wrote in Suprit's book. When Suprit was finished, Suprit put Suprit's book away 5 times. So we now need to think of some pronouns to change it. Now remember, we want to have our first Suprit, or as you don't know who we're talking about. So Suprit wrote in his book. Suprit wrote in his book. When he was finished, he put his book away. So you can use he and his to help you. He wrote in his book. When he was finished, he put his book away. Now we've only got Suprit written once. Okay, let's try and do one, and I'm going to let you do one by yourself. Okay, we've got one about Ahil and Rahim this time. Ahil and Rahim loved to paint. Oh, I don't know why I've got. Oh no, we have got a full stop there for a reason. Ahil and Raheem love to paint. Pokemon characters are Ahil and Raheem's favourite things to paint because Ahil and Raheem think they are great. Now, I've got Ahil and Raheem here, which I need to keep. Then I've got Ahil and Raheem here, and Ahil and Raheem here. So I've got 3 Ahil and Raheems. I want you to have a think of how we could change it using pronouns. Now, they're both boys, so we may use our pronouns of he or his. But also, there's more than one of them. So you may want to use they, may be needed. Let's have another read of it. Ahil and Raheem love to paint. Pokemon characters are, we may want to have their as well, because it's more than one person. And I'm using this type of their because it's theirs, it belongs to them, their favourite. Okay, I'd like to rewrite those 2 sentences, and I want you to try and add the pronouns that you think make the most sense to replace Ahil and Raheem. Remember, the first Ahil and Raheem need to stay there because we need to know who we're talking about. Okay, so pause the video now and give that a go. Okay, let's have a look at what we've written. Ahil and Raheem love to paint. Pokemon characters are their favourite thing to paint because they think the characters are great. Now, we haven't used he or his because there's 2 of them, so we're talking about more than one person. If it said he or his, it would say Ahil and Raheem love to paint. Pokemon characters are his favourite thing to paint. That won't make sense because there's more than one of them. So just be careful with that. Ahil and Raheem love to paint. Pokemon characters are their favourite thing to paint because they think the characters are great. So again, we've only got 1 Ahil and Raheem, whereas here we had 3 of them. So your activities today are focusing on pronouns, and there's some different activities. I'd like you to choose the one that's best suited for you. Try and challenge yourself. So in activity 1, you have to underline all of the pronouns in the sentences below. So you've got 5 sentences. For example, Ritesh cycled to school and on the way he saw a fox. So you're going to underline any pronoun in that. You're not underlining the nouns, it's the pronouns. Okay, activity 2. Rewrite the sentences below using pronouns to avoid repetition. So you're going to rewrite the sentence. For example, the Nintendo Switch had to be returned to the shop because the Nintendo Switch was broken. You're going to find the repetition, so the Nintendo Switch and Nintendo Switch, and you're going to change one of them to a pronoun to avoid them being repeated. And you're going to do that with the next one, which is about Mahmood, and the next one about car, next one which is about Rebecca, and the next one which is about Maisha. Or activity 3, you've got to rewrite this paragraph using pronouns to avoid repetition. This one is about Anshi. And you're going to read it carefully and you're going to rewrite it using pronouns to avoid the repetition. The extension for this activity is to add some more sentences to this paragraph to ensure you use pronouns to avoid repetition. So again, you won't need to use Anshi's name again because we know who we're talking about. So you're going to write at least 3 more sentences using pronouns. I look forward to seeing your work on Tapestry. Remember, if you need any help at all, just let me know. Good luck, and I will see you tomorrow on the live. Bye, Pankhurst class.